The Starfinder 2 playtest is upon us, which means now every Pathfinder YouTuber will start making Starfinder videos, including me. However, I don't like making videos about just reading off all the abilities a class has and giving a review of each one, because I think that's a little dull. So I'm going to pick out individual things I think are interesting to talk about and show the direction the game's design is heading, and I'll give my opinion on that rather than giving off the list of feats and making build guides that way. I'm just going to do the things that I find interesting, I think you will find interesting. So you can drop a follow for that, subscribe, like, whatever. But today we are going to be talking about a specific class feature, and this is the one for the Skill Monkey class of the game, also known as the Envoy. And this is specifically their third level class feature, which is still in the early game part of the game, and it is the thing they get to make up for not having the extra class feats, or the extra skill feats, a rogue would. Because they get the skill increases like a rogue does. Every single level, you get a skill increase in whatever you want. But they're not getting a skill feat on every level like a rogue does. Instead, they have this adaptive talent class feature. And what adaptive talent does is it lets you get a skill feat that is adaptive. You can retrain it daily, basically. It's a temporary skill feat. And if you're familiar with the fighter or the kineticist classes, they have a similar thing where they're picking out class feats as a daily thing that they swap out each day. So I think that adaptive talent actually solves the issue of feat bloat for newer players, because it's already a lot to manage a normal amount of feats on a Pathfinder 2 character sheet, because you have 1 to 2 feats every single time you level up. So that's a lot of abilities. Increasing that average amount of feats gained by 0.5 for a bunch of abilities that are not coming up often and maybe a little bit harder to track and keep track of, that adds up quickly. And so moving those weirder skill feats that you're not going to use as often into a temporary zone where the player then needs to decide which one do I want today gets rid of those bloated options around their decision making, and it lets them try stuff out and see if they want to pick it up in their next level up or not. And I just really, really like the design shown off here. And you always get more feats on an odd level, which means that's a level you don't normally get a skill feat at. So in the worst case scenario, this means the class only has 3 more skill feats that you're not going to change around at the highest level, which is not great, but it's still fine. But being able to change them out means, oh, we're going to an aquatic game? Okay, it's a good thing I have Underwater Marauder now. It's a good thing that I have a bunch of feats that would then help me with swimming. And you can just do that in your daily preparations. So this makes it so that way you don't need to have a million feats try and cover every situation. You're just narrowing it down to the 3 you are actually going to want to use in that adventuring day. And I have a feeling this will be a lot easier to manage on new players. So I really like the design of this one, and I think that if this is the direction that skill-oriented classes are going to go in the future, having temporary skill feats, that's a positive direction for the game as a whole. And I really like the idea of temporary feats and giving people more decisions of what they're making during daily prep. I think that daily prep is a pretty underutilized part of the game, especially for martial characters. Because, you have prepared casters, and then everybody kind of watches your wizard player as they decide, ooh, well, I actually want this many of that spell, or whatever. And this is tapping into that for more people, and letting more people try out different stuff easier in a lower pressure way. I know retraining is a thing, you don't need to say it, but I like that there is now this as the way that you get more utility on the skill characters. I think this is a really smart thing to do, and I really like it. That's the video. It's a positive one.